Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. First story. I won over $5,000 in court after a car accident that I caused. Okay, so just a little bit of information before I get into the story. I, 22 male, work construction and run a few crews, and I'm a foreman because I've been working in this field since I started work in summers when I was 14. That's legal in my state. With this being said, I have a lot of experience and get paid really well. For my job, I need a truck that can pull a lot of trailers and also get into a lot of sketchy job sites, especially in the winter. So I drive a new lifted pickup F350. Anyways, let's get into it. So about 4 months ago now, I got off work one day and just really didn't feel like making dinner. So I decided to go get myself the trusty Big Mac at McDonald's. Well, after I got my order, I was going to pull out into the parking lot to drive home, and I was looking hard over to my left to see how busy the road was before I got over there. Well, I wasn't paying great attention to what was happening in front of me. As I was creeping forward, someone who was in front of me was stopped, and not paying attention either, I ended up barely hitting his mirror as grabbing his door with my front end. I immediately reversed and hopped out. I made sure the guy was okay and apologized, knowing it was my fault, and I asked him if he wanted to call the cops. Let's call him Print. Print says, "Nah bro, we're all good. If you just give me your insurance information, I think we can get this taken care of." I was fine with that as there was no damage done to my truck. It's not required to call the cops for an accident if it occurs in a private parking lot. This is relevant later. We exchange information and he seems pretty cool, so I tell him to go get the damage bid and I'll just pay in cash so my insurance rates do not go up as long as he's okay with it. He says that's fine and we both just leave. And I feel like a moron. But all in all, Prince seems like a really cool dude and I just hope we can get it sorted out smoothly. About a month passes by and I haven't heard anything from Brent or the shop I told him to go to. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about this because if he decided to not get it done, that's on him. Well, he calls me up one day at about noon saying he can't remember my name and he wanted to tell the guys at the shop who sent him there cause it seemed like we knew each other. I told him my name and the guys at the shop gave him a deal. Pretty sure they say this to everyone. He sends me the bid for damages and it comes out to $2,403. This was more than I imagined, but I said to get it done and I would take care of the bill afterward, and that was that. He hung up and said it was cool and I went on with my day as usual. Another month goes by and I don't hear anything until Brink calls me up while I'm at work again and says, "Hey brother, I talked to the shop and they said they can't get me in for another 2 weeks or so, and they may end up charging me more if they find more damage." I say okay, sounds good, just let me know man. I hope it goes smoothly for you and I'm sorry for the inconvenience. He seems to take it good that I'm really trying to just be a good person. He responds with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $2,500, and we just can call it even." This seemed odd to me, because why the hell wouldn't someone want their vehicle repairs all paid for? I said, "Okay man, let's set a time and place to meet, and I'll get you paid." He liked the idea and ended the call by telling me he would let me know. Yet another month passes by and I hear nothing again. At this point, I'm getting fed up and just want the situation to stop being over my head. He hits me up at 11 p.m. one night and asks if we can meet in town. I found this kind of disrespectful because I was nearly asleep and had to be at work at 5 a.m. the next day. Either way, I said that was fine, and took my $2,500 cash and wrote up a quick contract saying this payment would be accepted as payment in full for the damages, and by accepting it, it would release me from any and all liability. This was a pretty fair contract, I believe, as it was a deal we had already made over the phone, just in writing. I get to the place we suggested as a meetup spot. I give him the cash and he signs a contract without hardly even reading it, and he didn't want the copy. This was a red flag to me, but I just assumed he really didn't care about it all that much. So I just sent him the photo of the contract and went back home for some beauty sleep. As you can guess by now, another month goes by with me just living life carefree and not a worry in the world about this stupid car accident. Well, I go to check my mail and I have a notice from this guy's lawyer that he is suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. This pissed me off, but I also knew I had plenty of text messages and a contract on my side. I immediately call Print and he blocks my number. Luckily enough, my girlfriend works for a lawyer, so I get him updated and he says he'd love to help. He lets me know I saved myself by writing that contract, as any contract worth over $500 is to be held in any level court in my state. I immediately get to work on my revenge, and I remember on the side of this guy's car, he had a business logo and I took pictures of the damage. So I hop online and get to the Triple P to look up who owns this company, thinking that surely he couldn't own the business because he is such an idiot. I was wrong. This guy owns a company and I can see that he has about 12 one-star reviews, all in dispute because of his shady business practices, telling people it will cost one thing and then charging them 4 times what he said it would. Sounds familiar? Remember when he said the shop may charge more than the original $2,400? That's right, he was suing me for $10,000. 4 times what the shop told him it would cost. Unbelievable. He was trying his same sneaky games on me. My lawyer takes note of this and we show up to court ready for war. This guy is sleazy. As we get there and all set up, he says, "You ready to give me more of daddy's money?" He says it with a smirk. I guess just cause I'm young and drive a nice truck and could afford $2,500. His lawyer gets up and starts trying to say some nonsense about me hitting and running, and Brent barely got a picture of my license plate. And then I tried bullying him into taking a deal for only $2,500 when the damage was clearly more than that. There were obvious holes in his story and he really didn't have much to say. Just imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer lays out the printouts for our text messages and the physical copy of that contract which was signed by Print. His lawyer was ghostly white and looked sick. After laying out all of the evidence, my lawyer pulled out a little hidden gem. The printouts of all the complaints we found on the Triple P and how he was doing the same thing to me. That was the final nail in the coffin, as the judge said he had seen enough. He asked Print for any final statements and Print said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore. Can I just get that then and we will be okay?" Literally admitting to the judge that he had received my money and his story was just a load of nonsense. I thought his lawyer was going to strangle him. It was just beautiful. The judge ended up ruling in my favor and demanded him to pay my legal fees as well as damages, lost wages because I had to miss work to be in court. The absolute sweetest part was that this particular day my crew was on a very high wage job and I was technically the one getting paid before I paid them out as subcontractors. This means I was to be paid $475 per hour, and this whole ordeal took about 5 hours. He ended up having to pay me almost $5,000. I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. Sorry it was so long, I just felt the need to share. Thank you to anyone who made it this far. Next story. HOA board tries to force me to remove my trampoline I get them removed from the board instead. I put a trampoline in my backyard in early 2017. I have 3 young boys and we have enjoyed it immensely. My neighbor, the HOA president at the time, went to sell his house in the spring of 2018, and his realtor said the trampoline in my backyard might be a detriment to getting top dollar for his home. So he convinced the neighbor on the other side of my house to complain as well. Out of the blue, I received a message from the HOA property manager that the neighbors complained and I would need to submit a form to get it approved. Intermission. What's sad is that I was friendly with both of these people. They have been in my home and they could have talked to me face to face. With one of the neighbors, I paid for our shared fence at her request, since her neighbor on the other side wouldn't contribute to their shared fence. Another board member, and human piece of garbage. I would have been willing to dig a hole for the trampoline to hide it more, and purchase a new one with elastic bands rather than springs, to make it quieter I mean. Both of those options are cheaper than getting a lawyer, but nobody asked. Nobody came to me to have a face-to-face, heart-to-heart discussion about their concerns. A few ironies. These are 5-bedroom homes. Clearly, people with kids are going to move in, and they are going to be noisy in their backyard with or without playing equipment. The guy who sold his home smoked like a chimney. I don't think my trampoline should have been his top concern, to be honest. The people who ended up buying his home are a great family with 2 kids, who don't care about toys in other people's backyards. My neighbors have raised kids to adulthood, one of them 2 very active boys. When I pointed this out to her, the words that actually came out of her mouth were, "I know it's challenging to raise boys, but we are at different stages of our lives." As if that justified her trying to screw me. Back to the story. I filled out the form and sent it in. The Architectural Review Committee denied it a month later. I appealed the decision and met with the board in August. They sent me a letter and said it was in violation. I asked which rules I violated and they never sent me a letter, so I asked again a week ago. The property manager was adamant she had sent the letter, but I asked for proof. She forwarded an email where she put my name in the to field after the fact. I had a strong suspicion it was after the fact due to the following reasons. An HOA meeting was mentioned that never took place. The responses to my questions varied in color, indicating they have been edited at different times. She responded immediately to my request for proof by indicating she would forward the email, but then took an hour presumably editing a draft she never sent. She cited a rule early in the email, but then cited an additional rule later that superseded the first. The first cited rule could have simply been omitted, and the message was not marked as forwarded message at the top, and the send time did not include seconds. None of these things are a smoking gun, but they are suspicious. I asked the other people in the to field if they received a copy of the email with my name in the address field, and the only honest member of the board replied he hadn't. The rest remained silent because they didn't want to look like they and the property manager dropped the ball. Intermission. If you're curious why the board didn't like my trampoline, here is a rationale provided in the letter that was never sent. Due to the close proximity of the homes to each other and the small yards, a trampoline is unsightly to the home surrounding it. Realtors for those homes surrounding you have stated that it is a detraction to selling homes and is lowering the home values of those around it. There have also been neighbor complaints regarding the noise level, which creates those homeowners to be unable to enjoy their homes. They are also unable to use certain portions of their homes while the trampoline is being used. My kids all weigh under 35 pounds. They got to bed at 7 p.m. and don't jump on the trampoline in the morning before 10 a.m. My neighbors bought homes 10 feet away from mine. What did they expect? Back to the story. The year-end meeting was scheduled for yesterday. and 4 board positions were up for election. I got 3 of my friends on the street to run with me. I went door to door every day for a week and spoke with the majority of homeowners about their discontent with the street. I got a third of the community to sign proxy forms stating that I would vote on their behalf. I went to the meeting last night and put these fools on blast. I listed calmly all the ways the current board was failing the community in my plan to right their wrongs. The vote was a landslide in favor of myself and friends getting elected. One awful board member remains, but he is a minority. We fired the property manager who was uncommunicative and flat out dishonest. The trampoline endures. The only bummer is now I have to manage a street which includes some legit crazy people. But this whole episode has convinced my wife that we will never live in an HOA again, which I count as a huge victory in addition to the trampoline remaining where it is today. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.